Happy Wednesday. How is everybody doing? Welcome to another live. I'm so excited about this one to learn more things about Venus and Venus point star. Hi. Let's wait for my... Oh, there she is. Hi. From the first attempt. Do I feel lucky today? Yes.
Yay, I'm on.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing good. Good afternoon from Rhode Island. How are you?
Well, good afternoon. I'm St. Catharines, just by Niagara Falls. So very fun. Good weather today.
Yeah.
Enjoying it.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
what is Joe saying? Oh my God, it's Wednesday. Yeah, it is Wednesday.
I can't believe we're in August.
Yes,
Yeah.
the July went like this for me.
The whole summer is going so fast, and for us on this East Coast Northern Hemisphere, we only get like a short little time frame of it. So
I know.
yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I pronounce your name correctly. So it's Makayla.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Perfect.
Right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, just
Yeah.
Mina. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's the English version. I have two versions. Like every Gemini, I have to have two names, right?
Well, how do you pronounce it the other way?
So in Croatian, it would be Jasmina.
Yasmina.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know you were from Croatia.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my origin, my genetic origin.
Okay. Awesome.
But I was born in Canada, raised in Croatia, came back to Canada. It's a Sagittarius IC kind of a traveler.
Yeah.
My home is where I put my bag.
Oh, okay. So, that's it. So Gemini in the midheaven,
Yeah.
Sag on the ice.
Virgo rising, yeah.
Okay,
very mercurial, yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, and yeah, having kind of two homes or two homelands. That's
absolutely
fun.
Yes.
So you're getting a 12th and 11th house kind of transit for depending on what house system you use.
I'm very late Virgo rising, almost 29 degrees. So in the quadrant system is first and seventh hitting me. And I have my nodal. I have my north node in Libra in the first house anyway. So
you're getting a nodal, reverse.
Reversal. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but next year it's going to be, because it's just early degrees, so it's going to be next year. But still exciting. Apparently, I'm going to bear some fruits. We'll see how that goes.
I think you're heading in a good direction with this whole Venus stuff I'm seeing all on your Instagram right now. So
yeah, thank you. Yes, I'm trying to do my North Node and be collaborating with others. That's my kind of and as I said, I know somebody asked me once. I said, "What's your passion?" I said, "Like to talk. I like astrology and meeting new people." And this is the perfect way to blend all three things into one.
It's the perfect Gemini MC, also. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Cool. Thank you very much for coming. I know you're busy. You have, by the way, for everybody who doesn't follow Makayla, please go and check her out. She's absolutely amazing. Her YouTube content is also very good. She collaborates with other people, so please check it out. She's an evolutionary astrologer, but she's just more than that. Very insightful, very intuitive person, and I love her work so much. And I'm so happy she made time for us today to talk about Venus star point, because it's very it's coming. It's very in the moment kind of a thing. So please introduce us. What is actually Venus star point and what is happening?
Sure. Yeah, it's buzzing right now. It's like the hot topic of astrology. And I think anytime love and money is on the table, it's just a hot topic energy anyway. So true. This work is actually based off of Ariel Gutman's work, and I do want to share her book really quick. So I want people to know that this is her book, Venus Star Rising, and she has a course that I took off of her website. You can get certified. You can actually get readings with her as well she does like, she's obviously the OG, so I want to give her the credit for this, that, you know, she came up with this whole theory, and it's quite true once you start digging into it. And so to give people a backdrop, you know, everyone has a Venus star point that they were born under, and it is actually the Venus Sun conjunction that happened before you were born. And you can go online off of her website, and she has like the graphs for free. And so you just go to your birthday, right? And then, or around that time of your birthday, and you find the Venus star point that happened right before you were born. And that's considered the head of your Venus star point, because it makes 5 points, right? Just like a star does. And
mine is in Aries. I know that mine is in Aries.
Get out. That's huge, because it's going to get activated this year.
Right here. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, well, I'm going to have to chat with you on the side about your Venus.
Yeah, we'll do separate talk for sure.
So, yeah. So that's essentially where you'll get a lot of Venusian gifts throughout your life. And depending on what sign and area of your chart it's in, you know, those ideas, those archetypes will flourish more for you. And then essentially there's 4 other points. So 2 of them make the hands, and then 2 of them make the feet. And there's one side of the star point that will feed you. So you'll notice that you'll draw people and things and situations in that will help like amplify your Venus star point head. And then where you distribute it ends up being on the other half of the star. And so it's a I know some of these people too.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's a really interesting way to look at your chart in a new light, especially if you're trying to manifest things around relationships and love dynamics and finances. And so, you know, we can spend 100 years within a sign making Sun and Venus conjunctions. Okay, so not to like complicate things like super heavy for people, but we're in the middle of like this 100-year cycle with Venus and the Sun conjuncting in Leo. And so for this one specifically that's happening on August 13th this year, this is a new cycle beginning. And I'll explain a little bit deeper into this, obviously, because this is the point of our collaboration. But what I want to actually point out in retrospect is, because we're on the whole cycle thing, we actually ended Venus star points in Scorpio last summer. So we don't have any more happening for about 250 years. But we began Venus star points in Libra last summer at 29 degrees Libra. And it's super important to know that, because we now have the South Node that just went over 29 degrees Libra, and it's now at 28. And I do have a YouTube video that I put out last year on the Venus star point in Libra. So if people want to check that out and see what that means for them, it actually would be important and insightful, because you can see how the South Node is kicking up what started last summer. And it'll help. Amazing. Yeah, it'll help you like unfold the storyline a little bit more.
When you start looking at the cycles in the sky, you just can't stop how it's all connected, guys. It's amazing for me. It's amazing, really, right?
Yes, and that's another thing that's beautiful that you pointed out, is that Venus, essentially, her cycle and I'm just gonna refer to her as her, because I'm like a little bit older, and I know the pronoun thing and stuff, but I'm just, you know, it's just ingrained in me. But
it's astrology terminology. I always say this is astrology terminology. This is not discrimination. We learn that way, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. So, you know, her cycle in the sky actually makes a literal star in the sky. And so if you just like go on Google and you write Venus star point cycle, like you'll get to see all these cool videos and all of the beautiful patterns that she makes, which is related to the Fibonacci sequence, which is basically related to everything in our world, like the apple, the flower, and all of that. And that's why we know Venus is associated with love and beauty and harmony and the finesse of life.
It's interesting when you mention flower. It's actually the rose, and you know it is said that the rose is the most beautiful flower of all, right? Because it has this. Anyway, I just find it fascinating. And then the shell, right? The seashells, but many things.
The seashell, That's one, absolutely, that's one of them. And
Yeah.
it's interesting because like the ancients saw this and they knew this, right? And I'm like, oh gosh, like the technology we have now and we still can't wrap our head around it, but our ancient philosophers were able to figure it out. Maybe they weren't so distracted by social media, who knows, but
Yeah. Yeah, that is also true.
So now we have the Venus is going to make a conjunction with the Sun on August 13th of this year, and it's an inferior conjunction, so Venus will be inside of the Sun, and so this means that it's like a new moon, essentially, where 20 degrees of Leo is going to be in your chart. So if anybody has 20 degrees of the fixed signs, so Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, and Scorpio, you know, this is going to be impacting you in a nice way.
What is the orb you look for if it's something, you know, nearby? What is the orb?
I use a 10-degree orb with the squares and conjunctions and oppositions.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it will activate the planets, right? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll pull them in, activate them, amplify them. I would even look at an in conjunction. So like if your if Venus star point is making an in conjunct to the, what is it, Pisces and the Capricorn.
Yeah.
Then I would look at a 5-degree orb within that too, because you're gonna have to make some adjustments to those planets or angles.
Conjunctions, yeah, those are very important. People, you know, we don't talk about them a lot, but they're very important aspects, actually. By the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're sneaky, right? It's just like a sneaky aspect that shows up, and it does cause a little bit of chaos or choice making, essentially. So, you know, I would definitely pay attention to that. And you also want to pay attention to, because this is in Leo, you want to pay attention to your sun sign placement, because it's going to be amplifying the Leo and the Leo section of your chart as well. Maybe you don't have planets in Leo. Maybe you're like me. I've only got South Node.
I'll tell you, I have Mars Saturn conjunction 24 degrees Leo.
Oh, this is hitting you. This is great. Well, this is awesome. This is, and I do want to ask, maybe you have something planned on the 13th, or maybe it's, do you have anything planned?
Nothing yet. I'm kind of trying to figure out. I was looking forward to your talk today, so I can see what input can I, because I don't know much about it. I just know a little bit, and I'm so curious. So how can I use the August 13th the best way?
Well, like the good thing for you is like you've got Mars Saturn conjunct, right? So consider the two malefics, right?
Yeah.
But you've got Venus and the Sun here going to totally overpower that in a very nice way. You know, to me, when I was looking at the chart for this day, you know, there's a need to be flexible, but it's not in a negative way for me. It's more of like the more flexible and bendy you can be, just like somebody practicing a yoga practice, you know, the more opportunities that you can allow to come in when it comes to money and romance and things like that, and blessings, if you will, because we're also getting a square here with Jupiter on this day. And so right, so this conjunction between Venus and the Sun on this day is forming a square to both Jupiter and Uranus and Taurus, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But you know, this is a new moon phase, so essentially this is starting a new, technically 8-year cycle, but really cycles do, when they begin, it affects for the long term, for the long term of the life itself, you know. So will you see, like if you're manifesting something or something's beginning around this time and you're really like seeing it, you know, you can see things come into full bloom or get their full nourishment over the next 8 years. You'll have like a full moon phase in 4 years, and then the 8 years you'll see accumulation, and then something built up off of that after that 8-year mark from now. And so, you know, this is a time to look at where 20 degrees is falling in your chart of Leo. Look at where Leo, the house of Leo, is in your chart. If you don't have any planets there, obviously pay attention to those houses. Look to the 5th house. What is color in your 5th house? You know, And how do you work? How does your fifth house operate, and so forth? And then of course you want to look to the aspects of Venus in your chart and Libra and Taurus.
Okay.
And so there's layers to this, and it really is a life of its own. Like this one conjunction, to me, it's really breathing a whole new cycle of energy into our lives, and it really deserves its own special treatment. And the way that I was looking at this, like if we wanted to put a theme or something to it, was the wealth in your relationships, right? What is the wealth in your relationships? And then how are you showing up for them, or how are they showing up for you? You know, because
and what's your value in a relationship? Like what is you know, it's good to reflect on what is, you know, is this working for me and why? What did I want, you know, in the first place from this? What did I expect? And, you know, just thinking about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like one of the things about Venus and Libra, from that archetype alone, is our expectations of others, right? And the whole seventh house dynamic, or the whole Venus dynamic, where we project our expectations out. And the interesting thing here is Venus is forming what's called the finger of God in the sky. Yep, with Neptune and Pisces and Pluto and Capricorn, and all of these are retrograde except the sun, because the sun doesn't go retrograde.
Yeah.
Right?
No, Venus is very busy, guys, this month.
Right.
Right. And she's ruling the South Node as well, so it's like it's all connected to right.
Yes, absolutely. And so it's like, what does this mean? Like, what does this finger of God mean? And what does it mean for all these planets that are connected? Neptune retrograde in Pisces, Pluto retrograde in Capricorn, Venus retrograde conjunct the sun. Well, it actually becomes very simple, and like I like to break it down to simple terms for people to like really get into the feeling of the energy, and try to like not get so analytical and like take the little bits and pieces out, but really just understand that what this cycle is asking you to do is really hone and feel in, which is a Venus nature, feeling in on, you know, what is it that you truly deeply value right now? What makes you what makes your heart feel alive? But an important factor of this on this day is going to actually be also what makes you feel safe and secure in relationships, because the moon is in Cancer on this day as well.
Okay, that's important. You have moon in Cancer, I think, right?
Yeah.
So this is going to affect you then as well, or no?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. This is on my South Node. This is opposing. I have an Aquarius stellium, so this is about integration for me, because I've got.
So you Aquarius sun?
No, I have North Node Mars and Venus in Aquarius.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
No wonder you're doing what you're doing, to be honest. Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool.
So, you know, and so obviously in Leo, we want to support our creative expression. We want to validate our ego, and we want to be able to take up space. And for some people, and most of us, and even me, I'm still learning. I've even been figuring out this, because Venus is already retrograde. We're already getting a taste of these patterns coming in, you know, needing to step up and show up for myself, but also realize that there are outdated patterns of behavior that most of us have been conditioned by in relationships that are being asked to be revisited so we can reconstruct them, redo them, revisit them, right? You want to think of all the re-terms when you've got a retrograde planet going on, and we have a ton of them, you know.
Yeah, and more coming, more end of the month as well. So
Mercury
by September, yeah, and Uranus is also, I think, end of the month as well. So, So I think by the end of the month we're going to be really reflecting and introspecting and many things.
Absolutely.
Cool.
And it's an opportunity to really like step into a beautiful way of just doing your own personal relationship patterning in a new way, in a way that is heart-centered, but that's also validating who you are and how you feel comfortable and how you want to show up. And, you know, so one thing that we can see from the Venus retrograde in conjunct to the Neptune retrograde,
Mm-hmm.
is the fact that, you know, we can idealize our partnerships, or we can idealize our expectations with anything, like anything,
Yeah.
like money that we think we should be making, partner, like work related partnerships, obviously personal things, like the way that our friends should respond to us, right? And Neptune is really it's testing our spirit in a way. It's testing our faith, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's really shooting it back at the self and asking the person to ask themselves, like, am I strong enough, right? Am I strong enough to show up for myself? Do I have enough willpower and courage to show up for myself despite what somebody else or something else does?
Yeah, because it's in Leo, so it's very important. Yeah, it's important not to forget, you know, your true love, true, you know, something that's in your heart. I know people forget. We all do things every day, and then we forget what we, you know. I always think about what did you like to do as a child? Just go back and think about that. That is, you know, you know, like mud cakes, you know, and stuff like that, right? It's just interesting.
It's absolutely true. And like on another dynamic, and your thought leads me into the other in conjunction with the Pluto retrograde, right? Where it's basically asking us to reclaim parts of our emotional authority and our emotional maturity, but empower ourselves, like Pluto's work, right? Empowerment, self-empowerment in the sign of the Capricorn. Well, we got to show up and be our own personal parents for ourselves. And that's really been like that Pluto and Capricorn lesson since 2008, is gaining emotional maturity in our life no matter what, you know. Basically, the whole entire world had put us in the lockdown in 2020, right? And we were all like little kids, and we had to decide what we were gonna do, because the big parent really wasn't protecting us. And so we had to like fight and show up for ourselves and learn how to protect ourselves.
This is all very, very interesting and connected. Like I'm thinking also about North Node in Aries. It's time to kind of, you know, put yourself and actually do it yourself, not expect others to do stuff for you, or, you know, just own it. Kind of get right.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And there's because the North Node in Aries will be trining that Venus star point. Chiron will also be trining that Venus star point, right? There's a way that we can heal our innocence, right? And our ability to show up and like kind of take up space. And like, I'll be the first one as an Aries sun to say, and I've dated so many Leos, to say that, you know, Leos and Aries can be a little bit narcissistic because it's all about the self and the center of attention in different kind of ways. But I'm actually really encouraging people right now to step into that in a healthy manner, like not obviously tread over people and like just like run them over them, but sticking up for yourself and saying, hey, I'm here, I'm taking up space, this is what I want to do, I'm going to go forward and do this. That's important. That's really
and expectations, as you mentioned, expectations. I think, you know, just you hear all these expectations from others. It's a time to also reevaluate that as well, because, you know, it doesn't work that way. I feel in life you kind of have, and what are expectations from ourselves as well. We don't have to forget that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then that expectation thing is where the Venus comes in, the South Node in Libra comes in, and then Uranus, Jupiter, and Taurus. Because the South Node, one of the lessons of the South Node in Libra is becoming about realizing where your expectations are not like living in reality, learning to listen to the other person. That's one of those things too. I think that we can't forget under the next 18 months that we need to listen to the other. We don't need to agree. One of my favorite Libra things is agree to disagree.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, but I respect, you know, and courtesy to actually acknowledge others.
Right.
Right.
You know, because like, who knows? You might learn something new by just like opening up your ear and just like letting it funnel through your brain. But you might pick up on one thing at least from that person, and then that person feels heard and validated, which is that whole purpose of the
So I just have a question. What do you feel is so we had this Venus star point in Scorpio for so long.
Yeah.
What is this big shift all about? Like, you know, because Scorpio is, you know, so dark and, you know, and deep and intimate, and Libra is more open. And so what would that be for us? Like, what would that shift? Because you said every 250 years it changes, right? So it's like a long, long time.
Yeah.
So we are in the beginning of something beautiful and new. So how we will feel it and, you know, manifest it. Like, what do you feel that this change means? Going from the darker to the lighter.
So
that's how I see it.
Yeah. So one of the things I like about Libra, and I was just hanging out with a Libra person with a bunch of Libra stellium and stuff last night.
Okay.
And I've got two parts to this. Like, so they were pointing out the fact that like truth is really important to them. And I always had associated truth with maybe Aquarius or Aries, because, you know, Aquarius likes to get crystal clear on the facts and Aries is really direct. But
or Sagittarius. Or Sagittarius. Yeah.
Yeah. Nope, absolutely. But then I was thinking, and I was like, maybe it is actually a Libra thing as well, because it's about justice and what's right and wrong, right? So the truth dynamic is like really deep. And also like Sag and Libra make that sextile, so they support each other. So that's
absolutely.
And Sag to Aquarius is the sextile, so they're kind of like connected with this truth theorem.
See, you're making your patterns now. I love it. Look at that.
So, the truth serum is strong in some of these signs, right? And then Aquarius to Aries, right? So
yes.
So anyway, so a part of what I've seen and what I think was like the last 20, 30 years, well, no, well, since the 60s really, we started to dig up a lot of stuff around, well, even going back even more, like the 50s, like the women's rights and stuff, right? There's been a lot of stuff around love and sexuality and gender equality that's been uprooted, like, let's say over the last 80 years, really, honestly, right? Like equality between races, gender, and then, like, you know, legalizing gay marriage, now all of the rights between the LGBTQ community. Sorry, my little chow's next to me.
Okay. We love guests.
They're like, yes, speak up, mom. And, you know, and then like sexuality is coming more mainstream too. Like if you just pay attention to Netflix and what's going on, all these documentaries on, you know, sex work and things like that coming out, and like new series coming out, there's this undertone that's very Scorpio.
So do you feel that this shift is gonna take us more to the justice, as you mentioned, and, you know, and being fair, so that everybody is treated actually equal in the next Venus cycle?
Yes.
Is it finally time that we acknowledge each other on that level? For real, I mean.
No, for real. I feel like it's been like a purge, like a total purge of everything taboo when we had the Venus and Scorpio cycles. Like if it was taboo, it was just going to erupt and come up. And then now we have to deal with the Libra side. It's like the negotiating and the swinging of the pendulum, right? Like the balancing, the laws, the legalizing, the debate.
I was thinking also how much porn industry, I mean, it's ridiculous, but it was really, during the Scorpio Venus point star, it was really highlighted. Porn was one of the biggest industries in the last, I don't know, 80 years ago.
I have a massive theory about OnlyFans. Like that's probably a discussion for a whole different topic, but I have a massive theory about how that is totally going to change the way that we relate to each other sexually now.
I love it.
Yeah. And, you know, and I talked a lot about, if I can remember, I would actually have to revisit my own video when I talked about the Venus star point in Libra, but I did see a lot of, because there was Aquarius stuff going on at the time, I did see a lot of issues coming into play now, because we have Venus in a star point in an air sign, where we're going to have to figure out what is the boundary between technology and our human bodies.
Yeah, and I think Pluto is coming into the air sign, and then Uranus is coming into the air sign, and then Saturn and Neptune are going to fire signs. Everything is changing to masculine energy, astrologically masculine. So and it's going to be, we're going to feel the shift.
Absolutely. More detached, more like kind of open the space and like living in the fire and the air realms, which we know about.
Maybe not taking things so personally as Scorpio would do. Yes. You know, like taking everything. Maybe we will have more awareness, not to be so emotionally, I don't know, sensitive. Yeah, triggered. Yeah. I have a question from Katrina, my friend. She's saying, how do you feel the shift will work out with the South Node in Libra? You mentioned a little bit, but can you maybe tell more?
What do you think? What shift she's talking about? The
Venus star point going to Libra. How will this affect in the next year and a half South Node in Libra?
So ultimately, what I feel is it's about you really evaluating how you show up in your relationships, and and like your willpower that you're basically bringing into them. You know, because the ruler of the South Node is Venus, we really want to pay attention to what Venus is doing. And without a doubt, I will probably nail this in for the next 18 months while we have the South Node in Libra. Relationships are up for review. They're wicked up for review. And there's a reason why we have this. I mean, we don't have the South Node in Libra for another 19 years. And so right now it's about revisiting old relationships. Maybe they're from other lifetimes. Maybe they're from the past in this one, right? Maybe it's just about you handling relationships from childhood, like how your relationships with your parents affected you and how that's like basically helping you navigate through life now. And our purpose here and why us people come into astrology and find astrology is because we're wanting to heal something. Like we don't just like, you know, we're not in it like this because we're not trying to not do shit with it, right?
Yeah, no, that's true.
So it's like, take the opportunity, like when you get the transits, to actually dig and dive into it. And so, you know, maybe like you're tired of dating the same way, or maybe when you're like, if you're single, for instance, a lot of people have broken up, like the node switched, and there was a lot of that happening. And I do like want to give my heart out to people because I've totally been there like 3 years ago. And you know, and it takes time to heal, but you learn so much that process about how you were repeating patterns because it was stuff that you learned growing up, and that actually the deconditioning that needs to happen. Sorry, hold on. The deconditioning that needs to happen with Pluto and Capricorn right now. You know, we still have Pluto and Capricorn for a reason. It's giving us a little more time to break down those.
Also, I always feel that not only our personal relationships, but for example, friendships. Like I have struggled with friendships my whole life. So I you know, more than even in relationships, like with my friends, I had really problems. So that's also something to, you know, what is friendship? What does it mean to be a friend? You know, what do you expect? You know, because there's so many friendships that also get, you know, because of you know, of things unsaid, or just misunderstanding of again, expectation is number one. I think in relationships, expectations is very hard. Business, personal, friendships, you're gonna work on that. Yeah, that's how I feel that for me.
So important. I mean, we've got Pluto moving into Aquarius next year, and that is about community. And it's really important that we're building community, even if you're an introvert. Like I'm totally an introvert most of the time, where I like to just hide in my little.
Really?
Yes, I swear. I'm just like, I'm the most intro extrovert. It's weird. But that's actually, you know, a Libra thing, is the fact that you can be like really social and like love the social thing, but you also have to go to the other side of the scales and take some time to retreat and recuperate your balance. And I think a lot of strong Libra signatures can deal with that, because one thing is, what's going to happen is there will be these extremes while we have the South Node in Libra. You know, Libra is trying for balance, but it's not balanced. Like, it is the swinging force.
You know, sometimes it takes just a feather to take, you know, out of balance, and then so
100%.
subtle. It can be so subtle. Yeah,
then
so
think
that's
about how triggering that Aries and that Chiron and Eris is all in Aries right now. And so there will be these like little quick triggering moments that can throw things off balance for a little bit.
So from a more technical point of view, so this Venus star point, so it happens now. So when is the next one? When is the next Venus happening?
So this one
8 years or no? How does that go?
Well, think about it like this. So it happens this is the new moon star point.
Okay.
So think of this one like a new moon, like when you plant the seeds.
Okay.
You don't really know what's going to come from it. And in 4 years, we get the full moon, which is on August 12th of 2027.
Yeah. Cool. So that's what it means. So if what we do, so is it exact on that day, or can we feel a couple of days before or after? What would be like a whole week? What would you say? Like just to pay attention to what's happening in our lives.
I would pay attention. I would be paying attention now. So I do have some dates to throw out to people, because we've already had Venus and Leo, and she already moved retrograde. Let me find my dates. She already moved retrograde, and here they are. So Venus went in, nope, that's the wrong one. That's the squares to Jupiter. Venus went into Leo, I think it was July. 1 second.
Venus went to Leo, yes, beginning of July. No, in Leo, in June.
June, was it June?
Yeah, I think it was June 8th. No, I think it was in June, and then she was very long, like it was
June 5th.
Until she went to, yeah, June 5th. Yeah, around I know it was just.
So Venus went into Leo on June 5th, and then she stationed retrograde on July 22nd at 28 degrees of Leo. So you want to actually pay attention to, I would say, the week before that happened on July 22nd, right? Until then July 22nd, and then anything that comes after that now, right? Those are going to be some themes that are coming up. So if people from the past are coming in, old situations are coming in, you know, you'll get weird stuff. Weird stuff will happen. It's almost like a Mercury retrograde when that happens, which we're going to have one in the middle of this. So we're going to get like double
hammered twice.
Yeah. I do encourage people to, and this is like given to me by one of my teachers who told me, like, to, unless it was like a completely obviously toxic, abusive kind of dynamic, right, or situation, just listen, especially with Venus, just listen. It doesn't mean that you have to go back to the person or you have to have a full-on friendship with them again, but just hear them out, because essentially a couple of things can happen. Like one of them is like you can get some insight that you were like, oh, I didn't realize that about myself, or you can heal the karma that you needed to heal, because Venus retrogrades will bring about healing karma from past lives, past dynamics, and past relationships, so you don't carry it forward, you know. And we really want to be able to close out these cycles so we can make peace and harmony. And those are like one of those South Node things that's going on.
To be honest, I have been working on myself, like on like past lives. I did some regressions, therapies, and stuff like that, because I find it very useful for this period. You know, I'm trying to always, you know, when something is going retrograde, what is it telling me? What am I supposed to know? So just to figure out my stuff that, you know, in my life. So just a recommendation. I I find it very useful.
Yeah, and it feels lighter.
Yeah.
You know?
Healing those, because we have relationships with our parents and with, you know, our surroundings that we are not even aware of some of, as you said, some of the things that happened subconsciously or from before. So when Venus is retrograde, I feel that it's good to work on it. So I've been doing that. So as me, for example.
That's very useful, especially with like the fact that we've got Mercury in Virgo, and we're going to have this long Mercury in Virgo retrograde as well. It's like, okay, what do we do with the communications? Like we process it in the way that Virgo would like to, you know.
And Mars is in Virgo, right? Until end of the month, almost, right? So.
Yeah. Chipping away at like being the discerning factor and like making the decisions in the discerning way, and making the adjustments as you go. So Venus will station, so she moves retrograde all the way back to 12 degrees of Leo. So basically this whole Venus retrograde period is really covering 12 degrees of Leo to 28 degrees of Leo. And so if anybody has 12 to 28 in any of the fixed signs, and again, I really encourage people to look at the Capricorn and Pisces within 4 degrees as well, the inconjunctions that might make.
As you said.
It'll be perking up those sections of your chart, you know, in various degrees. And then we're done with Venus and Leo on October 8th, when Venus goes into Virgo and starts going over the tracks that Mercury and Mars just did, which will be interesting.
Yeah, but then we're going to have Sun in Libra,
right?
Which is, you're gonna, you know, I'm always thinking, you know, this Libra is present somehow all the time. I feel, right?
Yeah.
And since this shift, I kind of feel that it's present all the time in some one way or the other.
And you know, and we should also give recognition to the fact that we've got like the Jupiter and Uranus and Taurus, which is like the other half to this piece. And you know, with Jupiter there in Taurus, you know, we can have this sense of confidence and ego boosting that can come in to play. That gives us like the strength. I mean, Taurus is a very strong sign itself. And then you put a major player in there like Jupiter, that's giving it this like oomph, this wealth, this abundance, if you will. You know, I really, from my predictive mindset, because you know I do evolutionary, but I dabble in the predictive work.
Yes.
And like with my predictive mindset, you know, if you're making space, if you're clearing out some of those karmic patterns and making the space, like Jupiter's totally going to reward you. You know, it's going to come in and blast in with those squares it's going to make to Venus and the Sun. You know, it might cause a little bit of attention, but it also can give you like that push. You know, sometimes you need to like push up a mountain, or, you know, and your friend's up there holding your butt and she like pushes you up, you know, it's almost, it could be like that to get you over the ledge, you know.
I'm just feeling with all this fixed energy in the air, how willing are, you know, all of us are going to be to actually make those changes. You know, that's why we might need that push even more, 100%. Right?
Yeah. And I mean, Uranus will be helping as well. And it's okay to like feel comfortable, because, and I guess we can tap into that uncomfortability that North Node in Aries wants us to dive into, right? It's like, and it's supportive of that Venus star point because of the trine. And it's okay to not know what's on the other side, or to, you know, speak up for yourself. You know, I'll just give a quick example. Like, I was like in this dating thing going on, and I didn't really like something that somebody did. And instead of just kind of doing my Libra thing, I just decided, like, I don't really care what happens. Like, I'm just going to say how I feel. Like, this shifted my energy.
Okay.
And I did, and it was fine. And then the person was like, oh, it's like, I meant it like this. And then everything was solved, right?
This is also, I heard something very well. Once somebody told me, I don't remember, when there's a conflict coming, or you feel it or something, just ask the person, what did you hear me say?
Yes. Yes.
Because apparently you heard something that I didn't say, because you know, it's sometimes you just have to ask a person, what did you hear me say? And then they will tell you what they heard, and then you're going to say like, oh no, you know, like it's like a total oh, right?
Right.
We're kind of afraid to ask direct questions because I don't know why. Because we are probably, I don't know, programmed like that. Conditioned. We're conditioned, you know.
That's the Pluto. That's the Pluto retrograde. That's the Pluto. We're being conditioned to speak up for ourselves. And if we do, the fear of being rejected, which is the Chiron and Aries, is going to trigger the Sun, Venus, and Leo, which is like, oh, like, do you not validate me? Do you not like see me for who I am? Like, am I not able to take up this space? And that's the point. It's like, it's time to be able to do
I remember as a kid, I know this is maybe personal, but I just remember that, you know, everybody telling me, oh, be a good girl, shh, be a good girl, like, you know, and if you hear that for so long, then you kind of, you zip it up after you don't say it, because if you say something, that means you're not a good girl,
right?
You know, you're not a good person.
Right.
So to be a good person, you need to shut up. You know how this is how and then you have to fight that, which is not easy,
No,
right?
because Gemini wants to just like
Yeah,
speak,
I'm just
right?
thinking one of the things. It was meant well, but it just the
Right,
way that I took it,
right.
it was
And
hard for me to say something later in my life like no or anything else because I didn't want to be a bad person.
and then, and
Just
most of our parents,
yeah,
meant well, but they didn't understand astrology. They didn't understand the
yeah,
birth chart, right? They didn't understand like the nature of the soul who's coming into that life. They just are operating on how they've been conditioned and trying to, and we know that that just doesn't
yeah,
work and they're passed down. And to me, this is like a breaking, like have fun. Like I encourage people to have fun breaking free from your old patterns. Like, yeah, is it tough? Does it feel
hmm,
emotionally insecure at times? Is it like it's not comfortable all the time? Absolutely. However, if you can kind of have fun doing it, like Leos never ask for permission. Like if you know a Leo, they just do it.
oh yeah,
And
yeah,
like this is to me a time and permission to like get back to your kid self when you wanted to show up into the kindergarten class and you're like, play with me,
yeah.
right?
I'm
And
I'm thinking. I'm just thinking about my kid who is 3 years old. That's exactly, he's just, he's a kid. He just does it. He doesn't know different, right? So that I like that. I'm learning so much. Anyway, it's just
yeah,
another thing. But um, also I was thinking about now. You mentioned all this Libra. So Venus started Libra as well. It's learning how to communicate actually, because I don't know if we know. Did you mention it? If you mentioned, I don't know if you mentioned this or not, because we're talking so much about a bunch of stuff. But I think learning to communicate, like learning to kind of kindly say something that we don't like in a gentle manner.
right,
Nobody teaches us that.
right.
Did anybody teach you how to say no nicely?
No.
No, right? You
Like,
kind of figure it out by yourself, which is actually sad
yeah,
that you have to go through life
yeah.
figuring out all this important stuff by yourselves.
Well, yeah.
uh,
And then I spent like 7 years in the army where you were like yelled at if you said no,
you were
right?
in the army.
Yes, yeah. And it's an Aries thing, you know?
I
And
know, okay, it's an Aries thing, but still that must have been yeah, I can't even imagine, but good.
but
That's hard.
eventually you get suppressed enough where you're like, no. And then they're like, oh, well, you
Uh,
can't say no. And you're like, yes, I can.
Yeah, somebody just said my grandmother used to say to me, "Don't speak unless you're spoken to." That's another one. Oh my God!
Yeah.
See that we live with these things. Hopefully, with this Venus star point change, and with many things changing in near future,
Yeah.
shifting our consciousness and everything. I really truly believe in a better future and more. I'm very optimistic.
And it's also, it's planting, if we look at it, the chakra realm too, it's planting
Hmm.
a seed inside of our heart chakra and then warming it up. So we can have a moment to have forgiveness and the compassion for those that conditioned us, those that we're in relationships with that didn't know better. Because truly, yeah, truly they didn't know better because of how they were raised. And so it's an opportunity to like melt away those tightness around thank you, the heart chakra. And then that will open up that throat chakra when you're talking about next, like that would be the next step, because the day of the Venus star point, it's actually, there's like no air in the chart except for Libra South Node. So
Um,
there's no planets in air yet.
At the moment, we're lacking air last week as well. Just when the moon kind of quickly shifts, a couple of days, that's it, and then nothing again.
Right.
Like it's like a, and then nothing again.
Right.
And you swim, and you take when the moon comes into the air sign, you take a breath, and then again no air. Yeah. So it's very, it just because when there's no air, it's even harder for us to communicate and to share ideas and be kind. And anyway, I think there's many love for you. I think you did. Anyway, thank you so much. I loved all this talk.
You're welcome.
We should do this again. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
sure.
And what time is it at all? I don't even know. I don't have a time.
It's 5:50.
Yeah, so it's almost an hour. So
Yep.
I think this was amazing. Thank you so much. I learned. I always learned a lot from everybody who I talked to, but especially from you. All this energy. I love your energy. Thank you so much, Makayla, for everything. And people love you as
Thank you
well. Amazing.
for having me. I love your lives. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I will, for everybody who is watching later, I'm going to put the name of the book in the comments as well. And please go check Makayla's Venus Star Point video on YouTube for more details for your signs as well. Thank you very much. And I will speak soon. We'll speak soon again somewhere. I'm sure of it.
You got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Makayla. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.